So first, before going into the project, let me briefly introduce VRT, so with the Flemish radio and television, so the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. It's a small broadcast, a small area we're servicing, so it's 6.5 million people. So we're funded by the Flemish government for about 61%, and our total budget is about 450 million euro. We have 3 TV channels. Catnet, which you will see later on, is our children channel. The 2 main online platforms for news and for sports, and we have 5 radio stations, so smaller broadcast in the north of Belgium. So as John already introduced, so we embarked on this project to build this live IP studio. So why did we do that? Why did we embark on it? Actually, it started with this question about 2 years ago when we were thinking about our plans to move to a new building. So we're planning to move to a completely new building in the backyard of our current building at the end of 2021. We haven't started yet, so we hope that date we will make it. And so, of course, 2 years ago when we started preparing for the design of the building and to start talking to the architects, the big question was, okay, what about IP? What about SDI? I mean, should we go to a hybrid solution? I mean, should we build the building in a way that we still have all these technical rooms all over the building? Today we have close to 30 of those, and so on. So in one of these meetings, one of the lead architects was saying, so let's just do a project. Let's find out how far the industry can bring us in doing this, so then at least we can take some better informed decision. And so that was basically the trigger to do that. Now, secondly, and that is very important also in our context, we have to do this in a context where our funding from the government is going down year after year. I mean, that must sound familiar, definitely for most public broadcasters in Europe. And so we have these challenges that on top of the radio and television that we are doing for many years, we have to invest in following our end users meaning the consumers, and also going more and more digital. So on top, we have these savings, but on top we have to do more with less. And so also there, not only did we want to understand what it would bring for our building, but also, I mean, would it be an opportunity to save money in the end? I mean, to reduce costs by going more IP, and when would it be able to do so? So these are the main drivers for the project. Now, how did we run the project? So as I mentioned, we said let's start a project to find out. Obviously, we didn't have the money as a small broadcaster to start building this IP studio all on our own. So the good thing was that at that point in time, we met with Mick DeValck, who was the former CTO of EVS, who had similar plans already, working with similar vendors in trying out to see how far he could get in going all the way with IP. And so we joined forces, and actually what we did is we set up a multi-vendor project with 10 different suppliers. I mean, many of those are here in the room, probably all of them are here in the room. And so we said we have all these different steps in the production and what we need to build this studio. And so we did a collaboration agreement where each of these vendors, we selected one of these vendors to take care of that particular component in the whole production chain. So we built that collaboration agreement, and we agreed with all these vendors that they will bring in their material, they will bring in the hardware, they will bring in their software, they will bring in their engineers to do the interoperability between themselves. They would open up their roadmaps to each other. So it's really an open innovation project. So we agreed with them that, I mean, it isn't possible to make this happen and to make this interoperability happen if they're not open and if they're not transparent on what they have in the pipeline. The amazing thing is, and that's already one of the very interesting experiences with this project, in my opinion, not only for the results of the project, but also the way we did it, I think this was really happening extremely well. I mean, I'm really surprised how well this happened, and it must be because all of these vendors, all of you were committed, all of those who were involved were really committed, and because it was important to them to find out how far they could get also for their future. So it was a really, I think, nice example of a really open innovation project. So it was steered actually by 3 parties, ourselves at VRT as a broadcaster. Of course, we had a specific interest. We were putting in some time and effort in doing this. The EBU was also on board. They took care of all the marketing and the communication on the project. We're not specialists in that, so EBU was taking care of that. And so Michel was taking care of representing all the vendors. We didn't have a steering committee with the 10 vendors, so Michel was in close contact with all these vendors to make all of this happen during the 1 year and a half that we worked on this. So this was the steering. So how did we do it? That was another important decision, and I think something that has probably contributed to the success of the project. We really decided to go on a very on a typical lean and agile approach, and we set a target, and we said in 3 months' time we have to meet that target. I mean, that's the first thing we do. We're not going to defocus on anything else. That's what we want to do, and we agreed with all the partners around the table that that was the common commitment of all the partners in the project to make that happen within 3 to 4 months. We started in the plan with 3 iterations, and why we had a fifth and a fourth and a fifth iteration, I will explain in a minute. To be honest, when I saw the first plan of the project team, when they came up with this 3 iterations of 3 to 4 months, I thought it was way too ambitious. I mean, I could not believe this was really going to happen. But again, I mean, they were very focused, they were very motivated. So I said, let's go and we'll see where we'll end up. And the good news is, I mean, surprisingly enough, again, we made it. I mean, we made these 3 phases in 3 to 4 months. So within a year, we had already very, very nice results. So also from the way we did the project, I think that was a very interesting experience. So what are these phases? So the first, and we did just the first, a one camera and a green key production. It was just a recording, a very simple recording. We started working on it in April 2015, and we did the recording end of June, early July 2015. Then we went to IBC just to do a proof of concept behind the scenes. It was already interesting to see that we had a lot of very good feedback from the people who visited the small booth somewhere in a small corner. Then we started the second phase, and we decided at that point in time that we would do 2 different phases. The idea was to do a multi-camera pre-recording with 4 cameras in the studio. But we decided not only to do that in the studio, so we did that in October, but also in January, 3 months later, we actually drove a small van with 4 cameras and the people and all the sound gear. We drove that to the center of Brussels, where we had a music hall. It's called Beaux-Arts. They took out the cameras, they set up the whole thing, and really in 30 minutes, so in half an hour, we were ready to start the recording and the production. So that was already an interesting experience as well. I mean, we have different experiences if we have to do these productions. So they set up everything. They did the connection to the control room that was back in the offices, in the VRT offices, where we also had the data center. So the data center and the control room were at the offices, and we had the production and the concert going on about 8 kilometers in the center of Brussels. And the only connection between that music hall was just 1 dark fiber going from that place, of course, underground to the building. I mean, we used to happen that connection, so that was an interesting thing to do. And so we did that remote production in January, worked very well. Again, the setup times were extremely fast. One of the challenges was communication between the different teams. I mean, they were not used to that. I mean, they were used to be on site to do that production, so that was one of the interesting challenges, but it worked really, really well. So that was the second phase, doing the multicam pre-recording, and then of course, which was planned to be the real objective, we wanted to do a live production based completely on all the IP infrastructure, so no SDI cable at all. So we did that live debate. Probably some of you were there. We did it the day after we hosted the IABM event end of March. And again, I think it went pretty well. So we learned a lot already during all those days. So these were the 3 phases, and then we thought, okay, this is what our goal was. We wanted to prove that we could do a live production. Of course, it was in a very controlled environment. Of course, it's not a sustainable production. I mean, you could not replicate it. But again, I mean, that was a good thing. Now, that created a lot of interest internally in the organization. And then people started talking, producers from Keynote, which is our children channel, started talking to our project team. And so every summer, every 2 years, with the world champion and the European champion, they go outside in the garden and they set up a complete production playing sports with the children. And so they're broadcasting live every morning and every evening. And so what we decided to do is to build just a regular control room, SDI based with all the cabling, and then next to that we put a container in the garden and where we put the live IP studio. And so we started the production at the end of June or early June with European Championship. We run 1 or 2 weeks on the SDI based control room, and then one day we just switched to the live production and we moved on with the production. Nobody has ever seen it. I mean, it was 100% error-free. So we've been live on this complete IP studio for all the summer. So that was something that we had never imagined when we started the project, that would have been feasible. So it was really the ultimate proof, I believe, that live IP is working. And just to show you a small video on that production. And then we thought, okay, now this is the end of the project, but then came up a very interesting opportunity, is that Michel actually went into discussions with IBC TV, and so what we actually did, and I guess most of you have been there in September, so we agreed with them that they would use the live IP studio, so we actually made it a mobile studio. We've put it in flight cases and we moved it to Amsterdam. And so actually what we did is they had in Hall 13, they had their control room. We had our data center in Hall 8. We had our control room over there and a small studio floor. And so actually all the way through IBC, they have been done, IBC TV, on the live IP studio as it was built over there. And when they were not using it, we were using it from our control room also to do what we called sandbox TV, just showing some stuff that was going on at IBC. So that was actually the 5th phase, already 2 phases more than we had ever expected. So it was, I think, a very interesting one. So what are the conclusions for us at this point in time? Definitely, it is clear. I mean, we are much more confident now that this is working, that this will work. I've put it in smaller font there. One of the important decisions that we've taken, and there is some risk to it, I know, because I mean we've proven that live IP works, but we'll have to find out in the next years. There's a lot of more challenges. Many of the challenges have been discussed here already. But we have taken the decision in the final design of our building that we will not have all these technical rooms, so that we will go fully 100% IP within the building. Obviously, we have still some years to come. We could make some changes, but that's definitely the ambition to do it. What's next? Most probably we will end the project here. I mean, we haven't decided, the steering committee has to decide, but most probably we'll stop the project here. But definitely what we are going to do in the next coming years, and it was very interesting to hear that a lot of you are also working on those. We want to explore further the potential of the whole idea of going remote, having shared equipment, and then which was explained before also having the whole automation layer and the whole management. Because that will be very clear, we have proven that from a technical point of view, the IP studio worked. We have worked on the collaboration, so the conference is about collaboration, but the conference is also about transformation, and that is something we haven't done yet. I mean, we just actually copied the workflows the way we were working before. We have just copied it to the live IP studio. One of the big challenges we have now, and that's the second one, is how do we make sure that we understand the opportunities that this will bring to do things differently, to produce in a different way, and as it was said in the beginning, to do more with less. And so that's going to be one of the bigger challenges, I believe. We had a lot of challenges on the technical side, but I believe the people challenges and the change challenges will be much bigger. Also the challenges, and it was mentioned before, going from hardware to software will also bring a lot of new challenges for you vendors, but also for us. I'm a software engineer myself. I know the lower maturity, let's say, of the software business compared to the hardware business. So there's a lot of challenges. Cybersecurity was mentioned, which is another big challenge. But actually, I believe we can make this happen. So that's one of our challenges, is to spread also in the organization all the insights, the experience and the knowledge that we had on this project, and to continue building on that. And so in the end, it's just the good news also, the nice thing about this project, which of course was never the intention, is that we didn't only win the award from the IABM. In the meantime, we have won 5 international awards with this project, which is of course very nice for the team. And this is the celebration I will show from the IBC Innovation Award.
Hi, welcome. Hi, we're here at IBC for Sandbox TV.
We are here at the award-winning IP TV studio in Hall 8, and this Sandbox project has shown the world how it can be done.
Nooit verwacht dat we dit zouden. Als het gaat over samenwerking is dit toppunt.
This is the cherry on the pie of a lot of hard work and a lot of collaboration, and it's simply fantastic.
You need to show that to the world. Well done, VRT, well done. Well done.
See you next time.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm just going to make a couple of questions, hopefully reflecting some of your thoughts. I mean, what you described there, is that a blueprint for what you might do in the future, or would there be big changes? What were the big learning points from it?
Well, first of all, the open innovation, and I think it's very important, and we will continue to do that. Yeah. I strongly believe that we can play a role as a broadcaster in this whole innovation and making also the standardization and evolve in the evolution of the technology. I mean, it was mentioned before. I mean, how do you work together, broadcasters and suppliers? So that's definitely some of the things we would like to continue to do. I mean, we have created this VRT sandbox, which is absolutely an environment where we work together with external parties on specific projects. So that's definitely one of the things we will continue to do, because that has proven to be very successful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Please thank Mick once again. Amazing project.